Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Joshi Dreamcast here on Fightful Overbooked. With me today is Matt Turner, the host of the Stardom Cast, and we're here to talk about the final of the five-star Grand Prix. A very, very exciting, great show, and I didn't think there would be anyone better to come on and talk about it than you, Matt. Matt, how you doing today?
I'm excellent, my friend Scott. Always good to see you. Good to talk to you. How you doing today on this? I don't know where you are in the world, but it's very rainy and dreary in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere, Pennsylvania, where I'm at.
It's dreary here in Massachusetts as well. It's no rain yet, but it's in the forecast, so I'm just awaiting it. But yeah, I mean, what better way to lift a dreary day than talking about Stardom? Am I right? Am I right?
Especially this show, man. I watch. Don't tell anybody this, Scott. Keep this between me and you. But I watch a lot of wrestling.
Yeah,
I watch a
me
lot of
too.
wrestling, and to me, this was what happened on Friday night or Saturday morning, depending on wherever you were in the world. It's by far the show of the year, and this is
Yeah,
a year in 2022 that we've had a lot of fantastic shows. But to me, this was absolutely the show of the year.
yeah. If you were to look at my like top 10 shows of the year, Stardom takes up probably at least half the field.
I have eight.
But
They have eight
it,
in my top 10. Yeah.
but this, I think this walks away just like last year as show of the year for me. I thought last year's final was, simply amazing with, the rise of Shuri and all the matches they had on here. But somehow it almost feels like as a complete show, they did even better this year. I don't know if I can compare the two because they're both so fantastic and both so different. But between Julia's story, right, with the two matches that she had, and I, you know, I will get to this later, but the Mayu, Utani, and Starlight Kid match is just
So good.
such a special one to me. And there's just so many ways to go. Momo and Hazuki, Shuri and Risa Sarah, just the whole card, right? Like just
Yeah.
the whole
You know
card.
what? And I want to get this in because I'll forget about it. It's gonna be something that probably everybody else forgot. But God bless Momo, Kogo, and Unagi. To literally,
Hmm.
they're literally put in the dead spot on this
Yeah,
show. Packed card. You had the really good Saya Kamatani Ami Suray match. That was really good. And then you follow that with Mayu versus Starlight Kid, which I really have to sit down and think. But I think that's my all-time favorite Starlight Kid match. I think it's was
hmm,
slightly better than the Saya Championship match from a few months ago. And then you have the emotion between Julia and Suzuki. And then we finally get the Blue Star block winner. We take a breath and here comes Unagi and poor Momo
yeah,
Kogo, who they're both low points. Like everybody's exhausted. Now we got to figure out this whole Red Stars block debacle going in, which is genius booking by Rossi Ogawa and Stardom. And the two of them are just like, you know what? We got a couple minutes. Let's make the most of it. And those two, God bless Momo and Unagi, they didn't waste a single second. As soon as that bell rang, they took advantage every second they had. And like, I don't think enough people, again, because there's so much awesome stuff that happened in that show.
yeah,
Not a lot of people are talking about how just Momo and Unagi did absolutely a fantastic work in the terrible spot, and rightfully
yeah.
so, that they were put in.
Yeah, their spot was so difficult, right? Because the way they book these shows, you do one block, then the other block. So it's almost like it's two shows in one. You
Yeah,
reset halfway through. So, like you said, they had that dead spot. And I do think that, I think the way I tweeted out was like, no one may care, but I think Unagi and Momokogu did a really good job, all things considered,
yeah.
um,
God bless them.
in what spot they had. And yeah, we'll start at the head of the show, of course, because I think really you just had two blocks, two shows essentially, like I said. Um, and if you were to break both blocks into two shows, they're two top shows of the year, right? That's how
Yeah.
great they were in their own ways. We'll lump in the final to that Red Stars block to just complete that one. But starting with the Blue Stars block here, you start off with Mirai and Saida, and I've been talking about this throughout the whole tournament. I don't think anyone, proved themselves more than Mirai in terms of right. She received the big push out of the gate. She won the Cinderella tournament, title match after title match after title match. And I think some people were like, all right, well, let's see. And then I think she goes into this tournament, figured out who she is completely as a wrestler, and she just feels like she has all the confidence in the world now. And I thought Saida played her part well. I think these two have great chemistry, as we saw back at Stardom World Climax as well. I think a lot of people forget about that match. But I think Mirai has really done her job in showing that it helped that she didn't have the spotlight on her the entire time this time around too, right? Because with the Cinderella and the title matches, it's like, all right, you have to, no matter what, prove it each and every time out there. This way, she got to have main event matches, but also matches lower on the card against talents and really show what she's made of as a complete performer.
Yeah, and Saida was great too. I mean, you knew what you were going to get in this match. Like I always say, if you go to a
Yeah.
steakhouse and you order a steak, you're going to get steak. If you have Saida and Mariah in a match, you know you're going to get shoulder tackles, you're going to get chops, you're going to get stiff strikes, you're going to have really tight holds. Like, and
Mm.
I even wrote in my notes for, I literally have noted every single match in this tournament in an old school notebook because I'm just old school that way. But the way Saida like works a headlock or puts on a headlock, there's no daylight. There's no daylight, and it literally looks like here's Saida, like all 5 foot nothing, but jacked. It looks like she's gonna take you're literally just gonna take your head, your head off
Yeah.
just based on the headlock. And then the two of them spill outside, and they decide to have a lariat off outside, and they realize if we don't go inside, we're gonna get counted out. They go back inside, and they figured let's continue this lariat off. It was amazing.
Yeah. And right, they're kicking off this pay-per-view, which is a big spot, right? Because the anticipation and excitement, it's at an all-time high for this show. So you got to kick it into gear the right way, and I think they did that. Just applause to both of them. I think both had really good terms. I think everyone had good tournaments,
Yeah.
truthfully,
Mm-hmm.
but I did want to give credit to Saida for being in the lower role, obviously, but she gave really good performances. I think she made her opponents, always look so good, and her fire and excitement really raises up the mood, I think, as a viewer. So credit to her there. Of course, the next match, Natsupoi versus Mina Shirakawa. Big storytelling type match. The Cosmic Angels collide, right? We've seen that Mina, she wasn't all that happy when Natsupoi joined, but by the end, you're right. We saw the photos of them, Mina, taking care of Natsupoi after
Icing
the
her knee up.
match. Yeah,
That's
which
Tam's job. That's Tam's job.
ex-
She might have been
exactly.
icing her neck after that final.
I know. Tam was probably like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm not ready for this." I thought this match was better than I expected in ways that Natsupoi really got beat up in this match. Like those dragon screws and the figure four, like she took a beating, and Mina really, I think, showcased kind of what she's been doing in this tournament, right? Like she got a big win to end it, and I think she definitely raised her stock in a lot of ways throughout.
Yeah, nobody in this tournament, to me, improved their game more than Mina. I mean, I think it was just announced that she's getting a white belt title shot on a pay per view.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I kind of on my podcast, the Stardom Cast, I talk a lot about how Mina's. You can see the little things she's doing to slowly improve in these tag matches going up, and I kind of figured she would blow it out of the water. Surprisingly, in the 5-star, and really turn a lot of heads, but I didn't think she was going to do this well. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
she really every one of her matches, she just knocked it out of the performance. And even I think she finished with 10 points. So, and there's an old saying: it's not who goes over, it's who gets over. And nobody
Yeah,
went from like mid Carter to like we can put her in title matches now and trust her because she's so good and she's so charismatic. Like it's one thing to be good bell to bell, but she's good from curtain to curtain. Like as soon as she cuts the curtain,
for
she's
sure.
just so striking. She just the camera just finds her. Like she's so
Yeah.
easy to like, and she's so good in the ring. And now she adds in like this great mood of style psychology where she does the low drop kick to the knee, and she's doing the dragon screws, and then she's even throwing out some of the Liger stuff with the combo kick, and then the she tried the surfboard
Yeah.
a few shows ago, and then obviously working the figure four, and her striking has gotten so much better. And then if you follow her on social media, you see her that she's working with a kickboxing coach. So, and
Mm-hmm.
then she did a good job putting that stuff up on Twitter leading up to the 5-star, where her first match was against Momo, who, I mean, Momo kicks you, it's like a tree's going to hit you. So that was really
Yeah.
good there. And then another thing, like poor Natsupoi, you said she got beat up in this match. I don't know if Matsupoi owes the locker room and Stardom money because it wasn't just this match. It was
Yeah.
Suzuki. It was Suzuki. Not only the Suzuki single match, but the FWC versus Tam and Natsupoi tag title match that took place in the middle of this tournament. Suzuki beats the crap out of her there. Mayu beats the crap out of her. Obviously, Julia was going to be,
Ugh.
a little bit stiff-ski towards her, but it was just like, I don't know if she's been ribbing people in the locker room and she's got heat, or if there's a bounty on her, or there's like an inside
Yeah.
rib. But poor Natsupoi, it just took a beating in this tournament. But she did have a really, really good showing in this tournament. This match was really, really good, and I think this they did it right. I think the right person went over here just for the role that Mina was on, and then for her to beat Saya Kamatani just a few shows ago in Korakuen Hall in an absolute show stealer of a match, for her to be a champion in her own faction in Natsupoi, someone that's been heavily pushed for a long time now, and rightfully so. Now you're getting more steam built up on her as she goes into her title match with Saya Kamatani.
I couldn't agree more. It's the little things that Stardom does in their booking that
Absolutely.
really go such a long way. And speaking of that, I think the next match kind of showcases that as well, which was Hizuki versus Mo Watanabe. Hizuki looking to win the block, right? A win, and she has an inside track. She just needs Julia to lose her tie, and she's in. And she's going against Mo Watanabe, someone that she has so much history with, so much, you know, love-hate relationship in a lot of ways. If you watch their matches, you might think it's a little more hate, but they don't have a bad match in their body, right? They are so good together. This was one of my favorites of the night because it's just so violent. They're just so violent against one another. You got Hazuki who just, she shoots out of a cannon and then she doesn't slow down, right? She was putting some stink on those kicks to Momo throughout the match, and her hitting that brain buster, the brain buster, looking like it's getting the 1, 2, 3, and a way to tie screws her over, right? There was a visual pin there that Hazuki was winning this tournament essentially, because as we know, Julie and Suzu went to the draw, and Hazuki would have been in if that counted. So a visual pin there. Hazuki is on the cusp once again of winning a tournament and losing right before, right? Losing right before she drops 5 straight after winning the first 7. Momo just putting an end to her with the Peach Thunder. These two, again, can't have a bad match, but their story and the way we've seen Momo and Hazuki work together this year has been really, really good. And it's going to probably end the year as one of the more underrated stories in Stardom.
Yeah, I said going into this tournament, my all-time favorite Hazuki match was that white belt match that her and Momo Watanabe had back in 2018, because that was just violence on top of violence. But then, they had a phenomenal match on night 2, a world climax, and
Yeah.
now we're getting the script, flipped here. Obviously, this is Suzuki comes right out of the gate, winning 7 matches in a row, and then we're all scratching our heads thinking, boy, we thought Julie was taking this. Now all of a sudden, it looks like what's going to do it have with Hazuki. And that's the great thing about the booking of Stardom, or just any really good booking, is that we think going in, okay, it's going to be Okada, Tanahashi, with the G1, and then
Yeah.
they mess with you a little bit, and then they bring it back. So it's like when Julia goes down 0-2 and Hazuki just running through the field, everyone's just like, well, maybe they're going to strap the rocket to Hazuki, which I think they're eventually going to. I said
I
that
do
it's
too.
going to, Saya Kamatani's having this all-time banger white belt reign. I mean, if her reign was to end tomorrow, you can make an argument it's the greatest, wonder of Stardom reign ever. But I think there's going to be a lot more matches for Saya. But I think somewhere in the beginning of next year, I think it's going to be Hazuki to end that white belt reign. So they did a good job building her up in this tournament and then breaking her down a little. And yeah, like
Mm.
you alluded to just a minute ago, Scott, Hazuki does come right out of the gate ready to go. And no one knows that more than Momo. And now we have a heel
Yeah.
Momo. We have a different Momo. So Hazuki didn't even get in the ring. And then Momo cuts her off. Just, I don't want to build that momentum. And I'm a dirty heel. And yeah, Momo Watanabe, as good as the tournament she had last year. And she had a fantastic tournament. Obviously, it's different because she's doing some heel tactics. The wrench, it's either makes or breaks her. We saw it in the first match with Mina. She went for the
Yeah.
wrench. She gets distracted. She got rolled up. Where some of the wrench stuff she did with Julia and Mayu, it helped her get some victories. And she almost had like a reverse Suzuki, where Momo was like win loss, lose a
Yeah.
couple, and then she hit some bangers. Out at the end,
Yeah.
she beat Suzuki here. She beat Maya. I think she beat Julia. But those are like the last
She
three.
did. That was her
Yeah, I mean
last
those
three.
those are kind of
That's
some
as
big
big as
names
you can
there.
get.
Yeah, those are some big names there, and it sets up a lot of stuff, for
Yeah.
the future. But yeah, I think obviously this Hazuki Momo Watanabe feud is not over. I think maybe they'll have the blow off of their match at Dream Queendom. I think they're going to either do a big Hazuki Momo match or Utami Momo, because they never touched on that singles match from the turn 10 months ago. So
Right.
there's a lot they can do here. But yeah, this match was, I knew it was going to be great, and it was great, and it was the third match in. I was like, geez, you could have
Oh, it
main
was
evented with you could have main evented with that.
yeah, it was fantastic. And I think the only reason it won't be talked about as much is because of what followed, right? Like you said, it came so early in the show. It's like, oh man, so much happened after. How am I supposed to remember this, right?
Yeah, I need a nap.
But yeah, like these two are just so good. They have all the chemistry. I loved watching these two go head to head. Never, I'll never get sick of it, right? I'll never get sick of
No,
that.
and you would know better than me, Scott. But Hazuki's never beaten Momo in a singles match, right?
I don't think she has.
I don't think she has either. And the reason why I bring that up is because look at how Hazuki almost finished her. She hits the Hazuki driver, a senton, three Hazuki drivers back to back to back,
Yeah,
and then the brain buster. So it's like, I've never beaten this girl before. I need to beat her so I can go on to the finals. So I just use this death finish, and
yeah,
then Oedo ties does the pull out. They don't use too much. I'm not a big fan of interference, but the way that like Momo Kid and
yeah,
even Kagetsu back in the day would just do just a little bit of interference where it's not too much, but it's enough to
yeah.
get heel heat, and that was genius here. Absolute
I
genius.
agree. Yeah, I think their story is Suzuki just can't get past Momo. I think
Yeah.
she's probably beat her like when they were younger, but when it comes to the big matches, Hazuki can't get it done against Momo, and I think that's just such a great story to play off of, and it'll probably come back into play right when Hazuki is champion of some sort. That'll be a big time main event match you can run because she'll be trying to get it done. She'll be
Take
trying to
yeah,
save. It's the match
absolutely.
she needs, right? Like we just saw the high speed match where Azumi wanted to fight Hazuki, right? Like that was this kind of the same thing. She's like, I need to win a match that Hazuki's in for this high speed title. She did that, and it's the same thing. Now Hazuki needs to beat Momo when the stakes are on the line. She couldn't do it here, but the heel work again is mostly the reason. Also, Momo's in her Sting era now. She uses a bat. She uses a baseball bat. She swings for the
And a
fences
wrench.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, bat and a wrench and a chair. She's going crazy now.
Yeah.
But our next match here was Saya Kamatani versus Ami Suray, ending in a double countout, which I can understand. People definitely wish it was a normal finish or something like that because you always want the main finish, but ultimately it keeps Ami Sourei strong, right? Heading into her future Stardom title match with Hanan, she had a great tournament. She got 11 points. She had a strong tournament for her first time in there. Saya Kamatani, Wonder Stardom champion, right? She's fine. She'll be
Yeah.
fine. Um, I think this match was interesting because you have these two wrestlers who we haven't seen in a singles capacity before, going head to head first time. Ami Saray, I think, still working on parts of her game, but she had a tournament that was, I think, really showcased what she can be as a wrestler, and down the line, I'm sure this will be a title match.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of both these ladies. Ami Sorry is just she's really coming into her own. Considering the fact that I mean, outside of Stardom, I don't know too much about Joshi Wrestling Show. I've really never seen her up until the spring, and I'm just a huge fan of her. And this match, the psychology was real simple. You have the size and strength of Ami Sorry up against the speed and technique and Saya Kamatani. And kudos to Stardom. You have 13 matches here, and you had three draws, and they were all done different. Like you had the one time, and you obviously were getting the one time limit, the one double count out, and then the phenomenal double KO,
Yeah.
and the Red Stars block there with the tag partners. But I thought this was really good. It was a really simple story. They didn't overdo anything. But like even when Ami like Finley rolled Saya Kamatani on the top of the ramp, and I'm like, oh, that's like a football field away. Can they get down there? And just in the cadence of the count from the ref, I think Daichi was the ref here, was just so spot on. And that's just like,
Mhm.
just people don't realize that when you have a match, it's more than just the wrestlers. If you have a ref and the ref is competent, obviously in Stardom, they certainly are, use it to your advantage. In the way that they brought that count in, they literally did 3 false finishes on that 20 count because you're like,
Yeah.
Saya's going to get in. No, Ami's going to get in. No, Saya's going to get in. Now they're both going to get in. Then nobody got in because I was sitting on the edge of my seat for a count out.
Yeah.
And that's just the genius of just really how Ami and Saya were able to work that. Like Saya Kamatani is hands down my number one wrestler of the year. She's leapfrog Siri, she's leapfrog Will Ospreay, she's leapfrog Okada, the whole nine. She's my wrestler of the year. And here it is. She got me biting on a count out. Like, how genius of a wrestler are you? And you're only wrestling like 3 years. Like, literally, the sky is the limit for Saya Kamatani.
Yeah, it's scary to think that she's still probably far from being a finished product in ring. She's gonna keep growing. She's gonna keep improving, and like you said, sky is indeed the limit. All right, let's move on here. Mayu Utani versus Starlight Kid. I want to say it now. I've rewatched this one because see, this was the match on the show that I couldn't stop thinking about when the show was over, and maybe it's because Mayu Utani is my favorite wrestler of all time. That could be part of it, and
Doesn't
I
hurt.
fully admit that. No, it
Doesn't hurt.
doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt.
I think Starlight Kid's just been phenomenal in this tournament of really becoming more of again for this tournament was a lot of finding who you are. I think as wrestlers for some of the younger talent, right? Like we know who Mayu Utani is, we know who Julia is, we know who Utami is, but Mirai, Starlight Kid, like these two, I think really use this tournament to show what they're made of as singles wrestlers and why they're so popular and why sky, of course, is the limit, like we were saying with Saya Kamatani. In this match, the Mayu Utani Starlight Kid story for me is, the best story because it's so simple, right? Starlight Kid moved on from Stars. She went to Uedo. She stayed in Uedo Tai because she wants to get to the same place that Mayu Utani is. And the only way she could do that is by beating her. Yes, Starlight Kid wants to win the Wonder of Stardom title, the World of Stardom title, and she will. She will. There's no doubt in my mind she will. But beating Mayu Utani is how she gets to that level. And Mayu Utani, this is the best part, right? Mayu Utani wants her to get to that level, but she's not going to hand it to her. She's never going to hand it to her, right? You saw it within seconds, I think. The first exchange, and then they stop and look at each other smiling. They're like, all right, this is how it's going to go. 13 minutes go by. Starlight Kid hits all of her new moves that she's learned over the past year, right? Since they last wrestled, except for the Eternal Foe. I think that's worth noting. She was not able to hit that Eternal Foe, but she hit the Black Tiger, the pile driver that I can never remember the name of. She has the Numero Dos, which I think has just been a phenomenal addition to her game, the submission work and we talked about that with Mina of like the dragon screws, and that has just been fantastic addition. And that struggle that Mayu had to get to the rope, it's like
Genius.
Starlight Kid,
Genius.
she's this close, but she's still not even there. And then Mayu catching her with the tombstone and ultimately pinning her with the dragon suplex hold in the end. It was fantastic storytelling, fantastic action. It was one of my favorites. And like you said at the very beginning of the show, might be your favorite Starlight Kid match of all time. Might be mine as well. I think these two hit an absolute home run. And the day that Starlight Kid finally beats Mayu Utani will be a very, very special day.
I think the day that she beats her, I think that's when Starlight Kid turns babyface. She's already there pretty much already. Like she's
Yeah,
pretty
I know.
much already like, how do you boo somebody that good? But like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
when it comes to like, I mean, this match, I mean, you hit right out of the park, Scott. There's really not too much I can add. But yeah, this match was absolutely fantastic. And I get a lot of younger wrestlers that'll ask me for advice. I'm like, who do I watch for selling? And there's always 4 people, and in order I go Ricky Morton, Ricky Steamboat, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Mayu Iwatani. I think Mayu Utani is the 4th greatest seller in the history of wrestling, and my main reason is you watch the way she sells in that match, especially when Starlight Kid locks on that Black Tiger leg crusher. We've seen people get out of it only pretty much by going to the rope. But when Starlight Kid works it and they're working back and forth, and then she does that spot where she takes her foot and puts the heel over the throat, people either
Yeah.
tap out or they pass out. And the way the camera angle was, Mayu's eyes just slowly started going down. And again, the ref was absolutely perfect here because he grabbed Mayu's arm to see if he was
Mhm.
out. And then the way the ref turned his shoulders looked like he was going to turn to the bell. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, this is how it's going to end. And then literally Mayu's timing and the psychology on her selling here. And again, knowing where the camera is, all three of those things just lined up so perfect for her. And the fact that she is Mayu, one of the greatest of all times, still in her prime, one of the greatest wrestlers in any company, in any country, male, female, I don't care. She's one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. Literally opens up her eyes. She scoots over a little bit, waits till she gets the crowd right where she needs it. She literally milks the crowd, right? Waits till they get right to the peak. She opens up her eyes, scoots over a little bit, gets the ropes, and the crowd pops huge. The crowd psychology on Mayu is just absolutely genius. And as good as this match was, with the all the moonsaults and the Eternal Foe getting reversed into the Hurricanrana, and the beginning spot with the two of them doing high speed offense, going back and forth and knowing how to beat each other, and the fact that Mayu couldn't get the job done with the moonsault, so she quickly went to the two-stage dragon. As good as all that was, and it was fantastic, my favorite part of that match was the struggle for Mayu to get to the ropes and know when to get to the ropes.
Yeah.
It's just genius psychology. It's making an excellent match, an all-time match. If I'm going to give throughout the Dave Meltzer star ratings, this was 5 stars for me, and it was a lot of that was based on that selling.
Yeah. It their, like I said, their story, their knowledge of one another it just brings them that extra mile, right? Because I think what we saw with this match and the next match is we saw, two former friendships, right, collide, and they're very different though, because one of them was out of anger and rage, which is the next match, and this one's out of trying to prove you're at that level. And the more time that we get to spend watching these two go at it, and learn from one another, the luckier we are, the luckier we are as fans. But I think you nailed it on the head of that struggle, really showcasing the best of both, right? And the how close they are. It's just that more than anything. It's like, you looked like you had Mayu, but you
So
still
close.
didn't. You
So
so
close.
close.
Yeah, she's still the
Um,
GOAT.
yeah, exactly. Julia versus Suzuki, a match that is, I say 9 months in the making, but it's many more years in the making. 9 months in the making in Stardom, right? Because that's when Suzu came in, but many more if you date back to their time in Ice Ribbon, and really how Julia left Stardom. I mean, left for Stardom, and has become just, one of the biggest wrestling stars in the world because she bet on herself. And Suzuki, someone that, she just kind of misses her friend, her sister. She felt broken by that. And just the way this match starts out with them crying across the ring from each other. I don't think anyone was ready for that. I don't think anyone predicted tears coming from either of them, because, this whole story has been Julia being so serious and so strict, and like, she kind of, I won't say no selling Suzu's importance and care, but she's been like, yeah, brushing it off. And then the moment they step in that ring, it's like, all right, you see it, you feel it. And this match, you saw it, you felt it, you understood. It was my best way of explaining it. It's like, it's when two siblings are mad at each other and they just got to fight it out, right? Because in the end, they have this incredible battle, and then they're embracing. They're types of personalities where they're not going to like full out hug and whatnot, but they're like, okay, there's love here, right? There's love here, there's care here. And I think this was like the perfect way for Suzuki to complete her tournament, right? She is the outsider who was had a chance at the finals with this match. She wasn't able to win, but she didn't lose either, right?
She didn't
She
lose.
didn't
She didn't lose the overall winner. She
she
didn't lose on
didn't
the final
lose to the
night.
winner. And there's of course future implications, I'm sure, there, which we'll see eventually. But Julia, she started off her night with this absolutely fantastic physical, emotional war that it's so good that you just got to see it, and you got to see this whole show. That's the whole point of me and Matt recording this. Is we're not trying to tell you what happens so you don't have to watch it. No, we're trying to hype you up so you do watch it if you haven't, because like we said, show of the year, this match really emphasized why Stardom's at the top of their game. They're bringing in people that aren't even part of their roster, having such major matches, and it is working out so well. These two absolutely killed it.
Do you think when Suzuki, when she cut the curtain, this match was over, Rossy Ogawa handed her a check and a contract? I think it's
Oh, I'm
just a
sure.
matter of time for her and Recess Air full time at Stardom. I mean, it's the easiest signing in the world. I mean, it
Yeah,
really
I think
is.
I think the contract's probably been signing there since the moment they walked in. They're like, "Do you want to sign it now? Do you want us to Do you want us to put another zero?
Yeah.
Another?" Just like it. Yeah, you're right. It's the most no brainer signing, and it's probably just a matter of time before they just finally say yes. And because they fit in so well, they fit in
Yeah.
so well. This tournament really showed that.
And the two of them will fit so well with the already stacked tag division they have. I mean, obviously
Oh yeah,
it's pretty clogged up in the red belt and white belt scene. I mean, especially coming out of this tournament, it's like now we're going to add Mina and Hizuki to them, and rightfully so. They deserved it. But so it's like if we're going to sign Risa and Suzu full time, what do we do with them? You throw them in the singles matches. Obviously, this is a return match here. Risa Sarah will probably get a title shot against Shuri because of what we'll talk about in a little bit later. But why not throw them in the tag division? Who doesn't want to see Reese
yeah,
and Suzu versus, Mike and Himika or Tam and Natsupoi or, Kid and Momo? Again, on and on and on. But my main takeaway from this match, obviously, big fight feel. You talked about not only that big fight feel, these two, not everybody on the show, not but specifically these two, felt like such huge stars on their entrances. I mean, Stardom did a great job investing money into that giant jumbotron. It very
mm,
felt like very much WrestleMania feel. It felt very much, especially in the main event, which we'll get to, like very much like a Tokyo Dome style entrance. And the two of them just came out as huge stars, and Suzu just laser focused. Like
yeah,
if you're in the ring and you're waiting and you're seeing that, you're like, oh geez, like this isn't gonna be a good day at all. Like
yeah,
I hope my life insurance is paid out. Just like Suzu, she just has that death stare, very much like a Katsuhori Shibata, where it's like you see him coming down the ring and like, geez, like I really this guy, like, are you kidding me? But I mean, so yeah, you have the crying thing and just the emotion, and you hit it right on the head. With the you're kind of fighting your siblings because you kind of have to. But my main takeaway from this match is the way they built Suzu up in this tournament. And again, a lot of us had Julia predicted to win the whole tournament, and then we were kind of confused when she dropped the first two, and Hazuki Mania was running wild, as I like to say. But the way they built Suzu up, where she would hit the tequila shot, and then right afterwards, she'd stay on the neck with either the stalling German or the locomotion German. And she beat pretty much everybody with that combination. So she slips out of Julia's. I think Julia was going for the Glorious Driver. She slips out. She hits a
mm,
German, the tequila shot, and then she hits the two Germans in a row. And I'm like, well, nobody's kicked out of this in this tournament. Is
yeah,
how this is going to end? And for a half a second, I thought Suzu was going through, and then Julia kicks out, and the two of them have a little brawl, and then they go to the time limit. But that was just a genius thing where if you've been watching this tournament every match, and again, we keep saying you need to watch the show. You need to watch this whole tournament. Like I know
yeah,
it's 20 nights. If you you need to watch this whole tournament to fully appreciate it, especially what happened here with Suzu. Again, she's been beating everybody at the tequila shot, German suplex combination. She hits it here in the biggest match, not only the tournament, probably of her life, and she can't get it done because this is the biggest match in Julia's pretty much probably her career in order for her to advance, and Julia kicks out. So even though if it ended at a time limit drop, and Sky, I don't know if you're a fan of MMA or whatever, but like, okay, so if they go to 3 rounds or 5 rounds, it go to judge's decision. If this match went to judge's decision, especially based on that finish with her eating all those suplexes,
yeah,
Suzu would have won and would have went through, which is now great because we're getting a return match, and whether it's between now and Dream Queendom, or when I think pretty much everyone expects Julia to win the red belt, and she rightfully deserves it, and that's gonna be the best thing for business. You have so many return matches for Julia coming out of this tournament between now and like next May. You have
yeah.
so much stuff that you can do with it. Like her title reign is ready made already. And by the way, Julia's really, really good. That doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, she is. I think you hit the nail on the head there. No one deserves it more right now than her. And I like the MMA comparison. If it came down to a decision, she may not have been moving on.
Yeah,
which is
if I was a judge, I would have put it to Suzu.
yeah, which is a great way to move forward because that way we will await what happens, but they have another huge match on the horizon. It's just a matter of when. All right, so we get to the Red Stars block here. We actually really already talked about Momo Kogo and Unagi. Um, but happy Unagi was able to get a win here. Of course, we are recording this the same day that seems like she's going a little bit freelance moving forward as she tries to prove herself. That seemed to be the theme of the video. That after having such a tough 5-star, she wants to travel around and try to show that she can grow and build herself back up. She did say she's still a member of the Cosmic Angels. She still gets Stardom in her bio, so it doesn't seem like Unagi Sayaka is leaving full time or anything, but it does seem like she will be skipping the tag league. She will be skipping the upcoming pay per view, and it looks like she'll turn her mindset to outside for a little bit, which is very interesting. But still nice to see her get the win here.
Yeah, best of luck to her. Obviously, I was really looking forward to her and Mina as a tag team. We get Mina and Saki. Obviously, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was again. I talked about earlier. Like they were put in the worst spot, just
Mhm.
because like this is at a spot where it's just like you got 13 matches to do. If I'm gonna leave to go to the bathroom or get a beer
Yeah.
or popcorn, or whatever, this is gonna be the match. And like I said, the bell rang. And these two were like, we got nothing to lose. And they went all out. And I thought Momo Kogo for being a replacement because she was Tech. Remember,
Mhm.
she was Tekla's replacement. I thought Momo Kogo had a really, really solid tournament. And I thought it's a match that not a lot of people are going to talk about, when it comes, especially when it comes to how great this tournament was and how great the show was.
Yeah.
But I think these two went out there and they left it all in the ring. And, that you always get a standing ovation from me if you go out there and bust your ass and leave it
Yeah.
all in the ring. And that's what these two ladies did with the time they were allowed.
Yeah. They did the most they could. And you appreciate that sort of effort from them. All right, let's talk about the next match. I don't know. I think we might talk about this match longer than the match lasted, but Saki Kashima defeated Azumi in, I believe, 45 seconds to officially eliminate Azumi from the tournament via revival, of course. The most deadly move in all of professional wrestling. She beat, I think, every top contender in this tournament. Saki did. She finished with 12 points, which might probably the most points she's ever had. Obviously, bigger blocks now, but still awesome showing from her. I thought throughout she is the best spoiler in wrestling, best tournament spoiler you got in the game, right? She can beat anyone at any time. She can lose to anyone at any time. But the way they did this here, I don't think I could have done it more perfect. Yes, you would love to see Azumi on her birthday have more of a match with the new, she was all decked out in new gear and all this stuff, but Saki Kashima had other plans. She had other plans. She had to move on in her day, right? She had to she knew her friend was coming back later in the night, so she had to prepare for that, to watch from a horizon. She wanted to get it over with. But really fun match, even though it was 45 seconds.
Yeah, that just shows you how good these two. And we saw Zumi and Momo Watanabe in the first round. I believe it was the first round of the Cinderella. They went less than 3 minutes, and I remember reading the result, and I was like, really? And then you watch it, wow, that's really good. And then I remember getting ready for church. It was this Cinderella. It was a Sunday, and I read that Mayu got beat by Saki in like 30
Yeah.
seconds, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" And then I watched the match, and I'm like, "Oh my!" And it got a pop. And again, that's what at the end of the day, that's what you
Yeah.
want. You want that crowd reaction. So again, we talked about this giant screen, right? So you get this giant, phenomenal, Titantron, Rossi Ogawatron, whatever you want to call it. Azumi comes out. She's got the purple robe. She's got the purple hair. Her Titantron screen. It's like a purple roller coaster, whatever it is, and she just come with that theme music, and she just comes up as such a huge star. And my wife's prediction for the tournament was Azumi winning the Red Stars block, and I thought, nobody really has that. It's mostly Utami, Tam, and some people have Shuri, but she was like the only one that was like dead stuck on Azumi. And I was like, I told her that obviously she's not crazy like me. She wasn't getting up at 2 a.m. to watch the show. Uh, but I told her, I said, yeah, if Azumi's got a really good shot at winning it. So Azumi comes out, the whole thing, big star power, and then she takes her robe off and she's got new gear on her birthday. And I'm sitting there on my couch at 4:30 in the morning, whatever it is, and I'm going, I don't know how my wife does this. She's never watched wrestling until we got together, 13, 14 years ago. And whenever we do like predictions on the G1, she beats me, she beats my friends, she beats friends of mine that work for AEW, the whole nine. Like I'm like, she's gonna do this again. I can't believe this. And I literally tweeted out, Azumi has new good for Azumi. She got her own birthday present with a new robe. And next thing I see is they're trade. Well, they did a good job. They trade each other's finishers in the beginning,
Yeah.
like Azumi. So I thought that was really cool. And then it was over, and I was like, wow, how about that? I was like, well, maybe they figured, well, they're gonna give Azumi a nice, easy paycheck
Yeah.
in front of 2,500 fans, whatever it was. They'll get,
Heartbreaking paycheck.
yeah. I was like, oh, I was like, well, at least she didn't have to do much. New gear, the whole night, and what a red herring just for Saki Kashima to literally hit probably the most dangerous move in all of Stardom. You can take your Peeps Thunder, you could take your Vermilion World, you can take in all the submissions that Julia does. I think that the win percentage when Saki Kashima hits the revival, the Kishi Kasai, it's insane. It's like literally the most deadly finisher in all of wrestling because all it takes is a 3 count. Whether I drop you on your head or I roll you up, they did a great job building
Yeah.
Saki up here.
Saki laughs at the idea that the one-winged angel is stronger. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
she doesn't care that's been. Oh, that's only been kicked out of once. Yeah, well, I win every match with this. So,
I would
uh,
love to see her and Suzuki have a death match where like Suzu's just pounding on her. She goes to hit her with like a light tube and she ducks and then she puts in the
uh,
Kishi Kasai and pins her with it. I think that'd
that
be
would be
great.
fantastic. Oh man, and Saki, if she wants it, she has a high-speed title match
Yep,
opportunity now, which it feels like will have to be a must after that. For
absolutely.
sure. Even though Saki seems very, very determined. I'm like, I don't know. If she beats Shuri, she's like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to face her ever again. You have a world title match possibility. You're like, nope, I'm done. I don't want to face her. I'm good. So that's the greatness of Saki there. Moving on here, Koguma versus Utami Hayashishida. Uh, all I can remember from this match, and for good reason, is the finish. The finish was beautiful, right? Utami going for that BT bomb, put her through the mat, and Koguma hits a perfect Yoshi tonic to win the match. Really good stuff here. I thought it was the best match of Koguma's tournament. I think she showed up big time. She had new gear. I believe this was new gear.
Yep.
Um, Beautiful new gear. They were tossing each other with German suplexes, but that Yoshi tonic, I can't stop forgetting about. I can't stop thinking about it. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic way to end this. Shocking Utami in the end, who was a win away from representing the Red Stars block.
Yeah, Utami was my pick to win the tournament, which I think we talked about before online. But yeah, I mean it was a really good solid match, and then it went all King's Road. And All Japan '90s is my favorite era of wrestling. By meaning like when all King's Road is Koguma's throwing some really good German suplexes. They were solid as they always are. She's fantastic at that. And then Utami just hits the one. And I think it was one that I think even Masao was looking down and was like, oh, geez, yikes, take it. The spirit of Antonio Inoki was definitely felt during this show because there was some crazy stiff shots, great submissions. You had King's Road, you had fighting spirit, you had, Inokiism. You had a lot of that in this show. But yeah, and then after she launches her with that disgusting suplex, that when she gets up, then she channels Stan Hansen and hits her with this brutal lariat.
Ugh,
And then it's like, okay, now it's time to put you away. And that's the way Utami's been putting people away, not in this tournament, but a lot with her title run. Is like she'll hit a couple big moves and then she'll go to the BT bomb or the Torque Sharek bomb. But yeah, and then I think she kind of figured, well, since I just all Japan this girl twice in a row with the German and the clothesline, I may as well take an all Japan style bump to return the favor. But yeah, that was just like spot on. She just like stuck right in the mat like a gymnast, like just
yeah,
stuck the landing right in the mat. I was like, oh geez, and I'm like, oh geez, upset win. Didn't see that coming. But yeah, Koguma had a good tournament, not a great tournament for how consistently great she's been all
yeah,
year. I thought
I
like her
agree.
tournament was kind of just like meh. And then she comes out with this, and I was like, well, the biggest show, the biggest crowd of the year. You're going up against the ace, in the leader Queen's Quest, and you throw an absolute banger like this. So yeah, 2 thumbs up for Koguma. Yeah, this was solid, especially that finishing sequence.
Yeah. Tam Nakano versus Saki. Tam Nakano with a win would, she controlled her destiny. She just needs Shuri to lose at that point. And guess what? She did. She beat Saki. Their first singles battle together. Of course, they are, part of Cosmic Angels together, when Colors joined the group. Um, cool to see them in there. I thought this might have been Saki's best match of the tournament, either this one or the one with Shuri, I believe. I thought she had a good showing. To me, it always felt like it had to be Tam. Once Utami lost, you were just sitting there like, all right, this is Tam's time, right? It's Tam's time to win this block, go on to face Julia. It's a match made in heaven. It's near perfection. And I thought ultimately that's where they went, and it was the right choice. This match again, very solid wrestling. No complaints here. It was in a weird spot too because you had the next two matches, and it's like, all right, we'll see what happens, but um, good stuff.
Yeah, and it's always Tam time in my household, Scott. Let me just tell you. Yeah, this was
Always
really.
riding the Tam road.
Yeah, gotta live that. Gotta do that Tam road. It literally at a point where I use the violent shooting as a comeback spot in my matches, and as I do it, I yell Tam road, and I don't think anybody gets it, but it just pops me. It just pops me. Uh, but yeah, this was really solid. Again, you don't want these girls to go too long. I think there's a better match in them if they get a 3 or 4 more minutes. But again, we got 13 matches, and we're trying to keep Tam somewhat healthy because Julia probably didn't come out of her match with Suzuki. She came out with
No.
probably that a little banged up. But I was a big fan of that fact that Tam had to use 5 violent shootings
Yeah.
to wear Saki down until she hit the violent screwdriver for the pin. But yeah, this was really solid. And again, Saki was kind of a question mark going in. Well, she was legit the last person that was announced. A lot of people thought it was gonna be Kari. A lot of people thought it was gonna be Takumi Iroha. I'm sure you had your picks on who you wanted to be. And when they found out it was Saki, I was kind of like, oh well, okay, let's see what you have here. And I thought she had a solid outing. I thought the Shuri match she had was the best. The Utami match was the second best, but this one was right in the mix. You had the three big stars in that block. Shuri, Utami, and Tam. I thought Saki, I thought she showed up really well for each one of them. And again, she's one of the many competitors in this tournament that are coming out a lot better than she was going in. So I was a really big fan of Saki in this tournament. And I think she wrapped it up really nice with this match with Miss Nakano.
Yeah, for sure. We close this show with 3 matches of just high stakes. A first time ever match, a former World of Stardom title match, and of course the final. So here we go. Micah Hameka, first time ever. Lots of excitement here going into this one. Both of them coming in with 14 points, of course. A win makes it a little bit cloudy on what happens, but I thought I wouldn't have done this match any differently. I think that's my best way of looking at it. I think they booked this to perfection, truthfully. I think, having neither of them able to beat each other is perfect, right? You don't want, these two are tag team partners. They're treated on the same level in DDM, um, and they know each other so well. So seeing one of them win would have been odd, I think, in a lot of ways, right? It would have been weird to see one of them get the better of the other. And I'm sure there will be a day that happens. But right now, I thought this was as much of a powerhouse battle as you'd hoped, right? Them just absolutely destroying each other with lariats back and forth, back and forth. Just the 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 speed and the power that they put into their moves, it hurt to watch. It just hurt to watch, right? All they're doing is running into each other. There might have been more physical things on the show, right? I mean, we watched Julia hit a headbutt on Suzuki and stuff like that, but I don't know. I walked away from this one being like, it's a good thing they don't have to wrestle again because they left it all out there. Hameka kicked out of the Michinoku driver number 2, which was a big spot there. Never didn't expect that. Of course, Micah has added the spinning one in this tournament, which seems to be her new, ultimate finisher. But the double knockout was a class finish for this.
And done with 2 forearms too. You figured
Yeah.
if you missed this match and you found out this match ended in a double knockout, you'd be like, that's great. But in your head, you're probably like, it's got to be lariats, right? You
Yeah.
figure that's the way it's going to be, but they went with forearms, which was perfect for the way this was set up. But yeah, again, kind of going into the Saida versus Mirai match. You go to a steakhouse, you order a steak, you're going to get a steak. And this was a delicious steak because this was fantastic. This match, I think I wrote down my top 10 matches, And I wrote it down and I was like, I'm not going back to it because it's so hard to do top 10 favorites.
Yeah.
Like to a point where
157 choices.
yeah, and again, there wasn't to me there wasn't a bad match on it. Like there was good to like match of the year. But yeah, this is definitely ranked in the top percentage. But this was terrific. I was also a big fan. Not only again, it was almost like a little bit of the Saida versus Mirai match where the two of them were closed on each other on the outside, where they're like, let's just do shoulder tackles on the outside.
Oh,
And then Micah was like, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the Harley Race stalling suplex onto the outside. Now, granted, there's a mat there. But let me tell you, folks, from somebody who has two deteriorated discs in their lower back from 20 years of pro wrestling, those mats only do so much. They only take away so much. But so then she hits the Harley Race stalling suplex on the outside, and then Himika, excuse me, fires up and she hits a belly to back suplex on the outside. Then the two of them go back and forth, and then Micah hits the stalling Tomohiro Ishii style superplex onto you figured okay she's gonna hit it because it's gonna be a cool visual, but I didn't expect her to do the stalling for that long. That just shows you the core strength and the core power that Micah has. And then
yeah.
I believe somewhere towards the end of the match, I believe it was a JP coaster that Micah kicked out of, and then Himika goes to the top rope. And I'm thinking, what are you going for? Like, what was she possibly going for? And you know she's getting cut off. And I think she tried for a second one, and then Himika flipped out and hit the concussion bomb. Or that might have been the spot where she got cut off for the superplex. But I'm sitting there going, we know what's going to happen. Like, you're not going for a 450. You're not doing a shooting star. Like, what are you possibly going to the top rope for?
Right.
But obviously you kind of just like I just kind of chuckled. You kind of just dismiss it because it's you have to like where you're gonna go transition to that next spot. But yeah, I thought this was great. And then yeah, nobody's kicked out of the Michinoku for it. But however, Micah hits the Michinoku. Usually when she hits it, you're already in pinning position. But with
Yeah.
this, she hits it. She was so beat up, it took her an extra 3 or 4 seconds to make the cover.
Mm,
So you have to keep that in mind when you're talking about the psychology of the finish, keeping finishers, keeping the finishers safe and protected. Where it's like, well, she kicked out. I'm like, yeah, but not 100% because she
right.
waited a little bit to get the cover, and then they just blast each other with forearms. To the refs, like, yeah, we're gonna call it a day here, folks. Yeah, this was absolutely fantastic. It's a match that if they ran back a month from now, I'd be okay with, but not because it's like, all right, I want to see them go back to be a tag team. I want them to win tag league or have a nice run, and then I want to see them either win the
Yeah.
goddess of belts back, or I don't think they're taking the belts off Tam and Poi anytime soon. I think they should give them a big run, but again, another story for another day. But yeah, absolutely fantastic match, and again, it might be just a one-off. We will see it somewhere down the road, but I think you just have to put those two back together as a tag team and just let them have a run because they really haven't had any straight up tag matches this year. It's all been multi-person matches or defending the artist with Natsupoi. They were supposed to have that one with Mike and Himika versus Ami and Mirai, and then Kari got sick and it rearranged the whole card. So yeah, I think it's going towards the end of this year and beginning of next year. Let's strap the rocket to those two ladies and give them a nice tag run.
Yeah. I mean, they've officially been announced for Tag League, of course, as a team. So hopefully that's where they can, get back to it. Because, like you said, they haven't had many tag matches together this year. It's been a lot of, and DDM's been on the ropes a little bit, changing up a lot. So at one point, they were teaming with the likes of Mirai and Shuri and Tekla
Sure.
and Natsupoi, and now it's changed. Now it's changed. They were doing a lot of trio stuff early on, but now it's back to being about those two. And you saw it, right? You saw it at the end when they got their awards, how happy they were, despite just destroying each other, an hour before.
You hit your friends harder, Sky. I always say on my
Yeah,
podcast, I said you hit your friends harder afterwards. You buy each other a beer, or whoever gets beat, whoever hit the most shots, they're the ones that buy the round of beer afterwards. So, and we know Mike
for
is a
sure.
big drinker, so I'm sure there was several drinks going down after this show.
For sure. The next match was the final match of the block action here. Shuri versus Recess Air. Shuri going into this as the champion, of course. A win puts her in the finals for the second straight year. But she's fighting someone in Risa Sarah who knows her very well. Of course, they had the title match earlier this year, but they know each other from far more than just this title match, and it proved to be the case, right? Very, very. This match was different from the rest of them, and it's because of you know we had violent matches on the show, right? We had wars on the show, but there was something about this one where it was everything was stiff, right? Everything had purpose in the fact that, yeah, I just want to hurt you, right? I just want to hurt you. I want to hurt my opponent. And if I win, that's great. But I want to make you feel it. And I think that's something that these two really captured in both singles matches that they've had, is that this match for Risa Sarah felt like the final proving ground for her, right? In showing that how much of an asset she is or would be to Stardom, because she offers such a different, right? Like, you go in there with Shuri, it's easy to be intimidated, right? And Risa Sarah is not intimidated at all. Risa Sarah, if anything, is almost just as intimidating in some ways. And watching that red versus blue war, right? Because they both wear their colors
Sure,
all around,
sure,
there's
yeah,
something special about it. And the finish of this match was definitely weird, because it's she kind of hit like a quick air raid crash and then pinned her in a lot of ways, but it was more so supposed to be just a roll up type thing. But
yeah.
I think it's the best way to do it, because now you have a chance to run it back if you want for the title once again, because now they're split at one apiece. But it also was a great way to eliminate Shuri, while of course leaving the champion looking as strong as ever.
Yeah. I've noticed Risa Sarah in this tournament was very much she wrestles very much like a Vitor Belfort or a Wanderlei Silva, to go back to the MMA reference with the blitzing. She'll blitz you really, really big in the beginning. And even in the end, like she'll always hit the combination where she'll hit the air raid crash, the sit out DVD, and then the bombs away double knees. And it's like she
Mm,
just hits like 4 or 5 moves right in a row. I'm a big fan of that, because if you think about it, if we're taking kayfabe out of this and it's supposed to be a real sport, if you have somebody down, you're not going to let them back up. You're going to hit them with a couple things in a row. And that's what Risa Sarah does. And it really made her stand out in this tournament. And you made a
yeah.
really good reference. And I didn't even point with the red versus blue, considering the fact we have the red stars block and the blue stars block. So you just threw a little more thumbs up on this tournament, my friend. Way to go. But I was a big fan again how Risa Sarah anytime like I think like Shuri had the game plan again, and nobody's more MMA in this company than Shuri. She's fought in UFC before. She was the Queen of Pancrase strawweight champion way back when. So she's got more MMA roots in this company than probably pretty much anybody. And she knows that Risa Sarah is going to do that blitz. So she does that ground and pound takedown stuff to kind of set the pace, where she goes
Yep.
after an arm or a leg. And then they're going back and forth. Yeah, they're hitting each other very hard. Again, we knew we were going to get that. We got it. And none of us were displeased. But then Risa Sarah starts blitzing towards the end as they were getting to the closing moments of this match. And Sherry's just waiting for an opening. And she does. And she goes to the double wrist lock. And as soon as she's got the double wrist lock somewhat locked in, you can see Risa's trying to escape. So
Yeah.
the old catch wrestling technique is, if you don't have the hold in 3 seconds, you don't have it, move to something else. So Shuri goes to the straight armbar, the Jujigatami. She goes to that. And you think she has her, 2 or 3 seconds goes. Risa Sarah tries to spin out, and then she goes to the triangle choke. So then she has her submission to submission to submission. Big fan of that. And then she goes to the double armbar, which then Risa Sarah, again, I don't know if she was supposed to give her an actual air raid crash or she was just
Yeah.
supposed to roll up. So it was like somewhere in the middle, and you're like, oh, that
Mm,
didn't go as planned, but it didn't take me out of the match, just because,
no.
again, Risa's trying to blitz with her stuff. And in the end, Sherry's like, I'm going to counter it and I'm going to blitz you with all my submissions. Go ahead, try to get out of this one. I have another one that I can get into. The old catch wrestling technique Billy Robinson would always would teach to his students was attack the body like a ladder. And that's exactly what Sherry did here towards the end. And then she got caught again, very much like Saki Cashman. Only takes 3 seconds. So I thought
It
that was a
does.
really good. I thought it was a really good finish. Again, everybody knows where we're going to on the 29th of December. They just announced that they're doing Micah and Sherry, and I think that maybe Sherry should have one more title defense, and it should be this one against Risa Sarah. No offense to Saki Kashima or Koguma, but if you're gonna run something back from this tournament, we're getting the Micah match. Thank you, Stardom, and I think this is another one that you run back on the way to Dream Queendom.
Yep. I mean, they do have the Utami match too. Utami did beat Shuri as
Oh
well.
boy, yes. Oh
So
geez, there's only
I don't
so
know.
much time between now and
I was gonna say
December.
I don't know if they want to
That's
do it. but it is there.
That's the biggest match. Drawing wise, you're absolutely right. As much as I want
Yeah,
to see those two matches, Utami and Sherry is from a drawing aspect up and getting into Julia. Yeah, you're right. I didn't. This tournament's so good, and I think that
yeah.
match finished like third on my top 10 list, and I
It
completely
was so
forgot
long
about it.
ago. It
Yeah,
was so long
it felt
ago.
like it was last year.
Yeah. Um, and then here we are, the final of the 5-star Grand Prix. Tam Nakano versus Julia, Red Stars versus Blue Stars block. There's so much history here. There's so much history between these two. They're tied at 2 apiece in their singles history, which I think some people may have forgotten, right? But for me, this was always the perfect final, and it's because Julia has been on a road climbing back to the top ever since she lost the Wonder of Stardom title to Tam Nakano, right? Lots of roadblocks, lots of upsets, lots of just a tough time getting back there, right? Her head's shaved. She goes into the 5-star Grand Prix last year as the favorite, isn't able to finish the tournament. She gets injured. She returns, has an amazing match with Konami at Stardom Dream Queendom. And then this year has been full of ups and downs, right? Watching her lose DDM members left and right. Watching Mirai, someone she brought into the company, leave her for Shuri, someone that's leaving, right? Shuri's pretty much breaking it off with her and breaking it off with DDM because she's like, all right, I can't do this anymore because we're going to go to war and we're not doing this anymore. Those two go to war. Julia just doesn't have enough. She can't beat Shuri. Shuri on top of the world. Moving forward again, Natsupoi turns her back on DDM and Julia's left just asking why. Julia drops the first 2 matches of her tournament. It's all bad. And then she goes on the run, right? She goes on the run, win after win after win after win after win, but she's still looking for that first major win since losing the Wonder of Stardom tournament as a singles competitor. And she got it by beating Tam Nakano here in the final. A it was a perfect final in a lot of ways because of that story alone. But the action and the excitement and just it felt as big a match as you could feel this year, right? Right. You see them have those entrances to get walk
Amazing.
down to the ring. Julia just feels like the biggest star in professional wrestling, not the biggest star in, Stardom, not
A
the biggest
female
star in
star. Yep.
Japan, right? She is the biggest star in wrestling. You watch that entrance, no one's bigger, and you could see she had emotion. She was hurt, right? She was hurt. She had that match with Suzu earlier. That was a war, and she enters here. She knows she's going to go to war one more time with Tam Nakano. They're both bandaged up. Julia's hand is bandaged up. Tam's elbow's bandaged up. And then they go out there and they kick ass. They kill it. Start to finish. Just fantastic. Fantastic pro wrestling. Fantastic storytelling. Something Tam does so well. And I think when Tam is trying to tell the story of, I need this win, she can be untouchable. But this was Julia's. This was Julia's. It was destiny. It was her destiny to win this, winning with the Northern Lights bomb. First time she brings it out all tournament long to get the win. She tried it on Suzu earlier on. She couldn't get it, but she did get it here. I think she won every single match with a different move too throughout the tournament, which is just so cool and so special that you can do that. But once she hit that Northern Lights bomb, right after they traded Glorious Driver and Violet Screwdriver, they did it to each other. 1 count, they tossed each other, German suplex. They had that crazy tiger suplex from the top. Just
3 minutes
all
in.
these,
Yeah.
yeah, just all these crazy things. But that Northern Lights bomb to win it, to end it, and you get that final scene where she's wearing her crown, wearing her cape. You get the Hana Kimura flashback in a lot of ways because of, that's who Julia's look is inspired by. That's the reason Julia, I think, connected with the Stardom crowd because of her rivalry with Hana Kimura. And it all came down to this moment, this match. Couldn't be happier that Julia is, one, the winner, and two, going to Stardom Dream Queendom to face Shuri for that title. Assuming Shuri doesn't drop it, but I think that is the match. That is the money match.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's almost as if you read my mind, my friend. Literally, you hit that on the head and probably 100 times better than I can ever put it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you literally have a year and a half of story here that they literally just all balled up and they got on here and they're going to ride this all the way to the end of the year, and rightfully so. I mean, nobody better. You have a company that's growing like absolute crazy, like over 200%, and we still have October, November,
Yeah,
and December to go through. So it's like you look at it, it's like, okay, well, what do we do to keep this momentum going? And as great as Shuri is as champion, I think right now this is very much reminiscent to the beginning of 1998. If you're a WWE WWF fan, where everybody knew Stone Cold Steve Austin was winning the Royal Rumble and was beating Shawn Michaels for the belt at WrestleMania, bad back or no back, that's the way to go. As great as a wrestler and champion as Shawn was, Austin's the guy to go to. This is as great as Shuri has done with the belt. And you're literally going from Mayu all timer run to Utami all time run, Shuri all time run. And it's pretty much the worst kept secret in wrestling. It's going to go to Julia. And I'm sure how good Shuri and Julia are, there's going to be times at that match that we're going to be doubting, like, oh no, they're going to have Shuri win. Like, holy smokes. And then,
yeah.
like I said before, you literally have so much set up for Julia. You have Mirai because she lost to her. You have Momo, she lost to her. You have Hazuki, yes, please, because she lost to her. You have she drew with Suzu, and just think of somebody else I'm missing. I got Maya. She drew with
Mayu.
Maya. Oh, geez,
Yeah,
how can I miss that?
she can't. The fun thing with Mayu, she has such a tough time beating Mayu, right? Like
Yeah,
I think they're 1-1-3 against each other. So it's
yeah.
like,
So it's a ready-made storyline, and then it's like you can build Natsupoi back up. That's still there.
yeah,
You know they're gonna run her and Starlight Kid back together. But why wouldn't you? For all the buzz that match got for what happened in Cork and Hall, just about a month ago. So you literally have so much stuff you can do with Julia, and then you're going to put the red belt on her, and then it's going to be an all-time run. There's no, not unless she gets hurt, or I don't like saying that because I don't want to see anybody in any sport get hurt. It's the worst. But not unless like something crazy happens, you're literally going back to back to back with all-time World of Stardom title runs. There's no way that if she's wrestling Mirai and Mayu and Momo, and if they run Shuri back, and then obviously we all know the big match is Utami somewhere down the line, and then they're going to build Tam back up sometime in the spring and summer,
mhm.
and maybe there's a chance Tam wins this tournament next year, and we have Tam versus Julia for the main event. I'm booking 14, 15 months ahead, but that's the way Stardom books with their long-term booking. There's no way any of these matches can miss because Julie's just getting better, and her
Yeah,
star power, Scott. I know I'm crazy, but tell me if you think I'm crazy. It like her coming off this show, it's very much how Kenny Omega felt after Wrestle Kingdom 11. Like she's literally the talk of the wrestling
yeah,
world, and considering the fact that it's an all female promotion in Japan, it's absolutely startling. Like that entrance alone, and Tam obviously, they pretty much gave Tam like the same entrance, and she's fantastic. She's just on another level as well. But Julia just feels like she has that Kerry Von Erich it factor where nobody else can touch her. She's just on a completely different level. And by the way, she's phenomenal in the ring as well. I mean,
yeah. She she feels untouchable in a lot of ways right now. She she is like I said, she felt like the biggest star in wrestling on that entrance. At the end of the show when she won, she felt like the biggest star just that we've seen, right? It was the culmination of a lot,
she's
right?
Io Shirai level of star power and stardom. And that's a big I think Io Shirai is the greatest women's
Yeah.
wrestler of all time. I know you have Mayu. I have Mayu right underneath her. But as far as star power goes, I mean Io is great. Is in the ring. She has that presence of star power from
Mm,
the moment she cuts the curtain. And the
for
only
sure.
person that I've seen in 11 years of stardom that is even close to her with that is Julia.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. It's star power that breaks through the ceiling of sorts, right? Like some wrestling fans have a tough time venturing upon like one or two promotions that they love. Well, if you see Julia and you see what she's doing, you're going to be very interested, right? Because she is that star. She is that star that's going to open a lot of eyes, and I think she has. She's getting better and better and better. She is the best she's ever been, and she's going to win that World of Stardom title at the end of this. This was the end of what I think is, I thought last year's tournament was the best tournament I've ever seen. and then they did this year, and it's like, well, if they're gonna just keep following up with the best tournament I've ever seen, then that's pretty cool.
It's only going to get better. Look at all these people in this
Yeah.
tournament a year from now. Is Starlight Kid going to be better a year from now? Yes. Is Izumi? Yes. Is Hana? I mean, geez. I mean, again, I know we're running long here, but gee, how about Hana? What a tournament for
I
her.
know. We didn't
Unbelievable,
get to even talk about her because she
Yeah.
didn't have a match
Should
on
have a
last night.
match.
But
Yeah.
she really grew throughout this whole term, and I think it's funny that we might be ending with Hanan, but you want to talk about people that are going to have that star power, have that chance to be as big as possible. I mean, Hanan's right in that conversation, right? Because just imagine where Stardom's going to be, right, when she's in the main events and where she, when she's wrestling for those top titles. They're going to be at the level, they're going to be appreciated by more people by then than they ever will be.
Sure.
And it's going to be, if already think they're the best company in wrestling,
I
but
agree.
I think everyone is going to be on that page by then, right? And that's great for her, right? That's why, but that's also why we say watch this tournament, watch this whole tournament. You're going to see growth. You're going to see feud. You're going to see storytelling. You're going to see all out wars. You're going to see every little thing that these wrestlers did to make this the best tournament, right? For every all-star superstar performance that you had by the likes of a Julia, you had the growing pains and you had the learning of a Hanan. For every, battle that you had the matches that were like the Unagi and Momokogos that, they went out there and showed their heart and showed their passion for this. Even if you're not going to look, even if people aren't going to look at it as the biggest match on the card, they still went out there and delivered. And I think that's really why this tournament was so special at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, this tournament had everything that you just said, but they had the most important thing. The fans, me, you, everybody else, we got more than our money's worth. And if you not have a subscription to Stardom, or not, grant there's 20 nights here. So if you can't get through it in a month, and it takes you 2 months, 3 months, you're still looking at 14, $20. Like it's less than it's like $7 a month.
Yeah,
Like for one of the greatest tournaments you'll see in wrestling in the last 30 years. I see, is that the Infinity Gauntlet that you have behind you there, Scott?
it
Okay, I'm
is.
going to make a MCU an Infinity Saga reference. Now, can you watch Avengers and Infinity War, maybe like one Captain America movie and Endgame and enjoy it? Sure, absolutely. But it's so much better when you watch everything in order and then you
Yeah,
get to the final Endgame and you get to the scene. It means so much more. And that's the way this tournament was. I had so
yeah,
many people, so many of my friends were like, how do I watch the show? How do I watch it? I said, you're going to enjoy the show, but you literally need to invest to all
yeah,
20 shows to truly enjoy it. To
yeah,
truly enjoy it.
yeah. Before this tournament even started, I had people ask me where do I start with Stardom? I was like, this tournament. This is where you start with
Yeah.
Stardom. It's in a lot of ways a reset, but at the same time, it is a prolonging of so many other things, right? It is how you bring up old stories, how you continue new ones and start new ones. And I mean, we just talked about Shuri versus Utami happened on the second night of this tournament, and it's so easy to forget. Yet that was one of the biggest continuations ever because Utami finally beat Shuri.
Yeah.
It's
With 1 second left. With 1 second
with
left.
1 second left, and that's why you have to, like you said, you want to be there for the journey. You want to invest in every moment here because it's so much more worth it when you get to this moment of Julia winning, right? We're all invested in the Julia story and the road. That's why I was able to talk about how she lost to Tam and then she had to shave her head and then she missed the tournament or she missed half the tournament last year and had to be DQ'd and came back against Konami and had that amazing, wonderful, emotional match. And then DDM starts to break up and she had to fight Shuri and lose. And right. And then Natsupoi turns her back and she drops the first two matches in the tournament. You invest in Stardom because they invest in their fans, right? They invest in their fans by giving you the stories you want to see, the payoffs you want to see, and just the best pro wrestling action in the world. It is, like you said, worth the $7 of Stardom World. Every pay per view is worth the money. every moment is worth it because in the end, you're going to get your money's worth. They never cheap you out. You always get more than you are paying for. And this tournament was the perfect way to showcase that.
100%, brother. 100%.
All right. Well, everyone, this was the Joshi Dreamcast here on Fightful Overbooked. Matt, where can the people find you?
Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter, and check out the Stardom Cast over at the Stardom Cast on Twitter as well. And for the Patreon episode for $3, the White Belt tier month, you get 2 bonus episodes we just dropped last week. Speaking of Julia, boy, perfect time on this one. The Julia, a Wonder of Stardom title review, where I go through all the matches she had for the Wonder of Stardom championship. And then for the Red Belt tier members, you get a weekly watch along every Monday. We drop a watch along where I will watch a match and I will pick it apart and show you the different things and psychologies about the match in depth. Well, today is Monday, so today we dropped the final. We went back to 4 years ago. We went to Utani versus Mayu, and that's $5 a month. So you get everything the White Belt tier Patreon members get. Plus, you get a weekly watch along with me. And with the Goddess of Stardom tournament coming up, the 2 bonus episodes that the White Belt tier members will get I'll be reviewing the Arisa Hoshinki and Tam Nakano 2019 Goddess Stardom the Goddess tournament run win, and Momo Inazumi in 2020. Yep, the next year. That's what we'll be dropping this month in the month of October. But yeah, guys, any questions, comments? The best way to get a hold of me is just hit me up on the DMs on Twitter. Once again, it is Matt Turner OF.
Matt, thank you so much for coming on here. Loved getting to talk to you about this show. Again, a fantastic show. And make sure everyone go check out the Stardom Cast. Matt puts everything he put into this episode, every single episode, and it's always an enjoyable listen because Stardom drives us, right? Drives us to be better in our own content. And it's fantastic stuff. So thank you for listening. We'll be back next time to talk IWGP Women's Title Tournament. I'll be back to talk. I don't know. There's so much going on. Goddess Tag League, right? Like I was trying to remember it all. There's so much going on.
Yeah, pay-per-view just got announced. Yeah, man.
Yep. And so much other Joshi content as well. So until then, everybody, thank you and have a good one.
Be safe, everyone.